What do we do when we want to procreate? We put the candles on, the lights, and get, you know, Engelbert Humperdinck on the record player, and then we have missionary sex lying down on the silk sheets, and then the female puts her legs up in the air, puts a pillow under her bottom, because one of the questions that she wants to ask me, never dares, is that why is it that the sperm all dribbles out?
Britain is in the grip of a fertility crisis. Our lifestyle is affecting our chances of having babies. Women are leaving it later to have children, and men's sperm counts are falling.
That's quite a small sample, isn't it?
Volume-wise, it's quite a regular amount.
Reproductive treatment is one of the fastest growing areas of medicine, with over 200,000 babies born in Britain to date.
Big cough.
More and more desperate couples are seeking high-tech and sometimes very expensive procedures to give them that elusive dream baby.
When you think you can't potentially have a family, and then to have him, it's a little miracle.
But what's it like to work on the front line of fertility treatment?
You sound lovely.
How does it feel to be a scientist, nurse or a doctor involved in the very creation of a new life?
Of course it makes all of us anxious because it's an incredibly high responsibility job.
Does anyone come closer to playing God? This is Liverpool Women's Hospital. It's home to the Hewitt Fertility Centre, one of the largest and most modern fertility clinics in the country, offering both NHS and private treatment. I'm spending 3 months here to find out what it's like to be one of the doctors or nurses who treat the patients, or the scientists who actually create life in the lab.
Have a seat.
The clinic is run by Professor Charles Kingsland.
Okay, so
In his long career, Charles has helped conceive thousands of babies.
So your eggs are 40 years old.
Fertility treatment is still a source of great controversy in this country, but Charles feels it should be available to everyone.
It's just a question of getting the right egg. To have or not to have children is a lifestyle choice. When you decide that you want children but can't have them, that is when the problem arises. If you look at the definition of disease, it is an abnormality of easiness. And one thing you notice about men and women who want to have children and who can't have children, they are diseased. And any disease is worthy of treatment. And ideally, in this country, I believe diseases should be treated free at the point of access within the National Health Service.
Charles believes fertility treatment is a human right, and most people are allowed 2 free goes on the NHS.
Hello.
But if those fail, they will have to pay for the next treatment.
The first medication that you're going to start taking...
The whole process takes around 2 months. It's geared towards creating as many eggs as possible by artificially stimulating a woman's ovaries with drugs, which she has to inject every day for 5 weeks.
Each one of those is one of your follicles, and each bar...
The ovaries create lots of follicles, each one hopefully containing an egg.
You are ready for planning egg collection.
At this point, the woman is booked in to have her eggs collected. This morning, Professor Kingsland is about to start a daily round of egg collections.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Charles Kingsland.
His first patient is 38-year-old Deborah Dickin.
I've been away since 5.
Worried.
No.
You won't feel
This is the easy bit.
You won't feel a thing.
Once Deborah's eggs are collected, they will be introduced to her husband's sperm, and if they fertilise, they will become embryos.
How are you doing?
This procedure requires the patient to be under general anaesthetic and takes about 10 minutes. On average, a woman produces around 6 eggs.
Is there any indication of what this lady might
get?
have?
Well, I'm hoping she'll get about 3 or 4 eggs today. So what we do now is, the way it works is we put the needle just through the vaginal skin and then straight into the ovary, missing all the vital organs that might get in the way. So what I'm doing now is just having a quick scan around, looking at the endometrium and make sure there's nothing between the ovary and the follicle, and then just pop the needle straight in, and you can actually see the needle is right in the middle of the follicle. Put my foot on the pump, and the fluid is now dribbling into that test tube, and then you can actually see that follicle shrinking away.
Deborah and her husband Matt have been trying for a baby for 3 years. This is their first time trying IVF.
Having children is a biological drive. It's like moving, growing, breathing, eating. It's a drive, and if you have an inability to conceive, all you think about all day long is babies. Having babies, your inability, the first thing in the morning you think about it, the last thing at night. And then of course, you get so stressed, your mind starts playing tricks on you. Why is it that every shop on the high street is mother care? Everybody's pushing a pram. Why is it that every time I nip into a supermarket, I always walk down the aisle with the nappies? Of course, that's not true, but that's what you perceive. And then, of course, somebody comes along and says, "Ooh, just relax." How can you relax? It's a very stressful situation. That's it. It's all over.
Right. Cooey.
All right, you okay?
After the procedure, Deborah is taken to the recovery area and given a cup of tea.
I don't feel any pains. Is that likely to come?
You can have, you may do.
I don't feel like anyone's been down below.
That's good. Good.
Do you find women fascinating?
I think women are great. I think they are, eternally fascinating and challenging, difficult to understand. But the beauty of being a gynecologist is that it's like being a mechanic in a Mercedes garage. Women are built to last. They live longer than men. They have more fortitude than men. They are built better. See, we're Ford Escorts. We race around for 60,000 miles, and then our big ends blow, heart blows, and you drop dead in the street. Women are built to have babies, so their physiology is so much stronger.
Hi. You all right? Yes.
It's Deborah Dickin.
It is.
You've got 5 eggs.
Oh,
So well done.
lovely. Brilliant.
So, fingers crossed. Well done.
I was worried, wasn't I?
No?
Yeah,
well
she
done.
was very nervous.
That's a good number.
Very nervous. Is it?
Is it?
Is it about the average, is it? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, is
Good
it?
number.
Good sizes?
We don't know the quality yet. We only know the number. Okay.
So worried. Thank you.
There you go. See? Nothing to worry about.
Deborah Dickin, 10-7. Matthew Dickin, 20.
Deborah Dickin's eggs and her husband Matt's sperm are brought together here in the embryology lab. Here, the embryologists can take in up to 70 eggs a day and millions of sperm in what is a finely tuned human production line.
You see them swimming?
Yeah.
You can see these are swimming quite fast. But what I've got to try and do is try and catch them.
The head of embryology, Rachel, is carrying out a procedure called ICSI for the Dickens. She must select what she thinks is the best sperm. This is then injected directly into the egg. ICSI is used in cases where men have low sperm counts or sperm that doesn't move around much.
That's it. Start the hunt for the next sperm.
Are sperm tricky buggers to catch?
Yes. It's the hardest part of the ICSI process, really. So what we're doing is we're selecting the sperm. We're not letting the best sperm enter the egg itself. So you're swimming beautifully. Right, I'm just going to see if I can get him. Just sort of running my needle over the tail. Oh, please do that off, his head's come off.
Oh.
I knew that would happen. He's stuck to the bottom.
Rachel injects sperm into 5 of Deborah's eggs. On an average week, Rachel carries out around 50 of these procedures.
Okay.
You think about this particular procedure later tonight
Yeah.
when you're
Oh God.
home?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No matter how many ICSIs you do, you still think about it when you get home, and you just all of a sudden just think, oh my God, I hope it's all right. You know, I hope they get good fertilisation.
Rachel is in charge of a team of 14 women.
And so do you think working here made you sort of a bit more anxious to make sure you could have children?
Yes. Yeah, I do. It makes you more aware how old you are. That, you know, there's a few of us that talked about should we have our hormone levels checked. But yeah, we're all worried, I think. We're all worried.
You're all worried?
Yeah, and I'm only 24.
All right, don't show off. I already told them I'm 35.
I'm 29, that's worse.
Amy is the youngest embryologist at the Hewitt Fertility Centre, aged just 24.
Do you go on to your boyfriend about it?
No.
About having kids?
No.
So he doesn't know that you're anxious about it?
Well, I suppose I've said it, but I'm not, you know, badgering him to have children.
Don't sit there on an evening saying, oh, the clock's ticking.
No, I don't. Because I also think what will be, and I'm not sure I'd have fertility treatment if I needed it.
Why?
I don't know if I could go through it myself. And obviously I've never done it, but when you see it every day and you see what the women go through, and it's very difficult for them, I think. So, and I don't think I've got that strength.
Really?
I don't know, I think I'm still too young to decide, but then at the same time, I'm getting older. I'm only getting older.
There is another part of the treatment process at the Hewitt Centre which has no time for science and technology. It's a procedure that is as old as time itself.
This is back to the nerve centre of the unit. Across the way, that's where all the ladies go for their eggs collected, and at the same time, the gentlemen will come in here to our masturbatorium and produce their sample. This used to be called the room 21. 10 fingers, 10 toes. I'll leave you to think where the extra digit comes from. So we have a comfortable chair. We have earphones for music or videos, and we have a touch screen here which displays a choice of appropriate stimulatory material, as opposed to a few tatty old magazines that are strewn around on a coffee table.
Each of these newly refurbished masturbatoriums, as Charles likes to call them, comes equipped with its own selection of pornographic films. Today, a couple who are on their second cycle of treatment are in to have their eggs collected. Lisa Henny's husband, Gareth, has just been into the masturbatorium.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? Because most wives would not be that happy about their partners watching porn.
Right, yeah.
And yet, how do you feel about it in this situation?
It doesn't bother me at all.
Doesn't bother you?
No.
Because you not have told me that 4 years ago.
No, it doesn't bother me. Hi.
I'm looking for a Lisa Henny.
That's me.
Is that you?
Yes.
Pleased to meet you.
Charles's team do up to 12 egg collections every day.
Thank you. You?
Bye.
Like many couples, there is no apparent reason why Lisa and Gareth Henny have not been able to get pregnant.
You sound lovely.
Are you asleep yet? Right.
You must have done this procedure many times.
The first 10,000 were a bit difficult after a while. It gets a bit routine. Usually takes about 5 minutes. This lady's got a fair amount of follicles. The ovaries have responded quite well. That's it.
How are you feeling?
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's right.
You're so lovely. You are lovely with people,
Thank
I
you
must
very
say
much.
that to you. You really are. How many eggs?
Haven't finished counting.
Just counting them now.
Go now, find out.
Right, I'll go now then.
Immediately.
I couldn't
Number
feel
6.
anything.
We've got 6 so far.
Right.
It's good.
Oh, thank
There we
you.
are. Is it time for a cup of tea?
Oh, I could have stayed for a bit longer.
Lisa Henny, 2937.
Lisa and Gareth's fertilisation is being carried out by Rachel using the most common method of treatment, in vitro fertilisation, IVF.
So I just pick up my sperm and I just drop it into the well containing the eggs.
The Petri dish imitates the environment of the womb, and the process of natural selection is allowed to unfold.
I can see motile sperm in there. I can just see them swimming now. And they need to get towards that egg now. So I leave it up to them. It's out of our hands. There you go. Let's see if I can find an egg itself. There's an egg. See the eggs here. There's a lot of cells around it, so you can't really get a good focus on the cell, the egg itself. These are all its cumulus cells. And you can just see the sperm starting to swim towards it now.
Oh, yes.
You can see them just swimming
Yeah,
around.
you can just about see them, can't you?
Yeah.
A lot for them to get through, isn't it?
Yeah, loads. And they're tiny. Look at the tiny sperm compared to the size of the egg.
Both the Hennies and the Dickens eggs will hopefully develop into embryos over the next few days. During that time, they will be checked regularly, along with the several hundred other embryos stored in the lab.
Gemma Johnsfield 1148. Gemma Johnsfield 1148. Gemma Johnsfield 1148.
Embryologists are trained on the job for 3 years and need a degree in a life science like biology. But working with such microscopic human cells, they need to be incredibly well organised too.
Do you feel like there's a certain sort of type of mindset that suits an embryologist?
A bit of an obsessive-compulsive paranoid person, I would say.
Oh, really?
It makes you good at your job. Yeah.
Do you think you acquire that sort of mentality once you come here from work for a while, or do you think you come here with it?
I think you make a good embryologist if you have a little bit of it inside of you anyway, and then I think it breeds it a little bit more inside of you. It makes you worse.
Like, I don't think that I've got those tendencies by working here. I think this place suits my natural tendencies, and I'm a bit of a control freak, clean freak, all those things in my whole life, never mind in here.
I can't think of any other business anywhere where the consequences could be so great. For that detail.
Exactly. I think it's one of the only jobs where you are expected to be absolutely 100% perfect, and there is no room for human error whatsoever.
Yes.
Which, is that an impossible situation? Yes. Maybe it is, yeah. Exactly. Because we are all human after all, but you have to be perfect. Or as close to perfection as we are.
Really? So it's gone so far, so good.
After my first week at the centre, I'd got a sense of just how normal fertility treatment has become. But I was intrigued to learn that despite all the very expensive high-tech science, Charles's advice to many couples is simply to try getting back to basics.
Okay, say it's a million years ago, and this couple are the only 2 people on the planet, and it's their job to populate the planet.
Like Adam and Eve?
Yeah, like Adam and Eve, right? And they've got to compete with all the other animals, as big, bloody hairy saber-toothed tigers and mammoths and dinosaurs. Do they have, and they've got to survive, right? Do they have sexual intercourse quickly or slowly? Go on.
I'd say they do it quickly. So
Why?
you get away from a predator.
Exactly. Lying down or standing up?
Standing up.
Should the male be relaxed or anxious?
I think he should be anxious.
You should be anxious.
Yes.
Of course, you should be anxious. So what I say to patients, imitate the jungle. Just go for it. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And they say, well, what do we do? I say, well, next time you're around at your mother-in-law's, sit there at Sunday lunch when you're ovulating and say to your husband, I'm ovulating. We've got to have sexual intercourse in this house before we go home. And by the way, I'm not wearing any knickers. And I'll guarantee you that he will have the best sperm count ever.
Difficulties with fertility don't just lie with the woman. The man is part of the equation, and in particular, the quality of his sperm can be the root of the problem.
Lock the door behind you.
And the Hewitt Fertility Centre has a whole department dedicated to the analysis of sperm.
It's so sticky, it's on my glove.
The Andrology department gets all its samples from the masturbatoriums. Each one is connected to the laboratory by a special hatch.
Okay, so when the sample's placed in the hatch, the alarm goes so we know it's there and it's ready to take. And we just have a look, just check the details, and we'll sign for the sample to say it's been received.
Amanda is one of the andrologists. The best sperm moves around fast with a sense of purpose. These healthy sperm are described as motile.
This sample is quite in a raw state, it's unprepared. So before we use this for any sort of treatment, a lot of the non-motile sperm will be washed out of the sample in the preparation process. The sample's actually concentrated down, so the sample that we use has a lot more of these motile, freely swimming sperm.
Hello?
When Charles needs to speak to a man about the quality of his sperm, he tries to get onto the man's level.
I'll say, do you follow football? And they'll say, yes. I'll say, well, your sperm is Fulham. Your sperm is Wigan. And they say, what does that mean? I say, well, you'll probably stay up this year, but it'll be a tough fight. Rarely are they Manchester United or Manchester City. Most of us are Stoke or West Brom, although West Brom are doing particularly well this year. And then some of us, unfortunately, might be Southampton.
In the Andrology lab, there is also hope for infertile men in the form of sperm donors, like 21-year-old Nathan. Donors like Nathan can also help same-sex couples or single women who want a baby. But the Hewitt Centre has a shortage of donors.
I have a stepfather that now acts as my father, and I love him more for that because I know that he's chosen to be my father. And so I think I have a unique perspective. It helps me do this. It helps me think that there's going to be someone else there that has chosen to be a dad.
That's quite a small sample, isn't it?
No, actually, 2 mils is like the regular volume, so that's bang on the door. That's a question we get asked quite often. Can you do it on that? Is there enough in there? Yes. It's how often do you into a pot and measure it though? So people assume that there's a lot more of it than there is.
It's not as if they could do anything about it if it wasn't very much anyway, would it?
No, probably not.
Nathan's sample is ready for analysis.
It's a lovely sample. There's some good morphology and the sperm is swimming really well, and the concentration's quite nice as well. That's some nice sperm.
There's no denying it. If you're a man and you've had a test done on your sperm, there'd be an extra spring in your step, wouldn't there, if you found out that you had very good sperm?
Definitely. Men try to hide, they always want to be the stalwart in the relationship and to lend the the arm of comfort to their female mate. I've seen men absolutely break down in tears and the woman be the stronger of the two. That's rare. It's usually the other way around. But even though men are stalwart, stoical, stiff upper lip, when I tell them that they've got good sperm, there's definitely a sort of an aura comes about them, one of sort of, well-being.
So those are risks that you do need to be aware of.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you're going through your treatment, we will talk you through all this again.
When a couple begin the process of fertility treatment, the first thing they need to do is have a meeting with Sister Diane Ford, where she interrogates them about their lifestyle. In this case, it's Kerry and Mike Fraser.
Do you smoke at all?
No.
What about alcohol?
Occasionally.
Occasionally. Would you say each day you have a drink or just a couple?
I've stopped. I've cut down.
Okay.
Been good.
Michael, drink alcohol?
Yes.
How much would you say?
I don't know, about 10 pints a week, something like that.
No, you don't. 10 pints a week.
Well, yeah, every weekend.
So you'd say about 10?
About 10, yeah.
Do advise that you do reduce that, because alcohol can affect both the quality of eggs and the quality of sperm.
Yes.
Okay.
These two are in their early 30s. They've been trying for a baby for 3 years. This is their first cycle of IVF treatment.
Because what we want is for you to go home with one healthy single baby.
Yes. Yeah.
But we cannot guarantee fertilisation and we cannot guarantee pregnancy. You clear on, you feel?
Yeah. So
Okay
excited.
with the information?
Yeah. Happy with everything you've said.
Ready to get going?
Ready to get going now, yeah.
Oh, well, good luck. You take care. Don't forget any queries. Just give us a ring.
Oh, will do.
Brilliant.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. Bye. Bye.
All right then, see you later. Bye. I arranged to meet up with Kerry and Mike in a few weeks' time when they return for the next stage of their treatment. So far in my time at the Hewitt Centre, I had noticed that patients might have different reasons why they can't get pregnant, but they all share a deep-seated biological desire to have a baby. But one person stands out in demonstrating just how deep this desire runs.
My name's Hannah, one of the embryologists, and I've just come to speak to you before your egg collection.
Anne-Marie Brotherstone. She is 31, but has had 2 heart attacks in her short life.
Before you go home, how many eggs have been collected?
Because of this untreatable heart condition, a pregnancy could put her life at risk.
Tell you a little bit
But even so, she wants a child so much, she is prepared to go against the advice of doctors.
Have you got any questions you'd like to ask us?
Mine's gone blank. No, I don't think so.
Anne-Marie does have significant, medical issues. She has this cardiomyopathy, which people thought was serious enough for her to be sterilised a number of years ago. And of course, obstetrics changes, there are new technological advances, but nevertheless, her pregnancy, if she were to get pregnant, will still be risky.
Do you feel very nervous?
Yeah. Very nervous.
You've been waiting a long time, haven't you, for this?
Yeah.
Are you nervous about your health or the eggs?
The eggs. Not the health.
Really?
She's always been like that.
Have the doctors expressed to you the risks associated with it?
Yeah.
It's not just the risk to Anne-Marie, there's a risk to there's a chance that the baby might have sort of the same heart condition as well. We were told that. But, we still think it's worth it, don't we?
Yeah, I think the way we look at it is we don't want to get to 40, 45 and have any regrets and look back and think we never done everything we possibly could, isn't it? And I think, if it doesn't work out, at least we can say we did try everything. And hopefully not have any regrets.
We're all on the scan, do you think? Shall I just double check with it?
Today, her eggs are being collected. But due to the risks, the procedure is being carried out in a full operating theatre, and we aren't allowed to film. The drained fluid from Anne-Marie's follicles is rushed back into the embryology lab, where the search begins to find her eggs. There are 21 test tubes of follicular fluid. Hannah is already halfway through them.
Still no eggs so far.
happy. Because I didn't expect there to be eggs in every single one, but obviously you do get a bit scared as you go through them and you haven't seen a single one, but that egg looked really nice, so hopefully we'll get a few more now.
She continues to search through the remaining test tubes. The more eggs produced, the better the chance of creating a viable embryo.
Last tube. No. One it is.
Although she found one egg, Hannah is concerned it may not be mature enough to fertilise.
Obviously, if the egg doesn't fertilise, then that's the end of the line, but we have one and it does look nice.
The procedure itself went well. The lining of the womb, I know that they scanned you previously and said that the lining of the womb hadn't thickened up.
Anne-Marie Brotherstone's procedure was carried out by Dr. Lucy Coyne.
When we gave you the injections to help to stimulate the ovaries in the hope of producing eggs, your response wasn't, as good as we might have hoped for. So I think, the fact that we've got an egg today is good news, really. The difficulty is obviously, if we create a nice embryo, we will have to freeze it because of the fact the lining of the womb hasn't thickened up as we would have hoped it might have done. All right, if you think of anything before you go, then just let one of us know and I'll pop back in.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
That was quite a difficult moment for Dr. Coyne, because she's actually pregnant.
Before I was pregnant, I did actually wear normal clothes for clinics and things like that. I started wearing scrubs quite early on to try and hide the fact that I was pregnant for as long as I could, because I found it a little bit awkward. But,
Did you?
How long have you
With the patients?
Yeah. I think I'd rather just not be pregnant in this environment, unless I get to the stage, obviously, that I'm at now where, the last patient that's just seen me has said, oh, pass on your good vibes, because she could tell I was pregnant. So.
One egg was enough for Anne-Marie Brotherstone.
Really good news, because the embryo's fertilised.
So it carried on maturing then?
Yeah, it carried on maturing last night, so it was injected a couple of hours late, but it has fertilised.
Embryologist Hannah successfully got Anne-Marie's egg to fertilise. But as an embryo, it needs to be frozen for a few weeks until the lining of her womb is ready.
Hello?
Hi, is that Michael Brotherstone?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Well, I've got brilliant news for you guys. The egg that you had collected was mature and it has fertilised.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Lisa Henny.
It's nearly a week since Lisa Henny had her eggs collected, and 5 of them have fertilised into embryos. Today, one of those embryos will be transferred to her womb. This is a key moment in their fertility journey, but it's also a critical moment for the staff after weeks of careful treatment.
It's a culmination of the embryologist's work, it's a culmination of the doctors' and nurses' work, and it's also that crunch time for the patient. Patient's awareness throughout infertility is heightened, but at the embryo transfer moment, it's really, really quite electric.
Okay, so we'll leave you to get changed. As I say, I've got a head.
Hillary will be carrying out the transfer.
So I'll come back, all right?
Do you like doing the embryo transfers?
Yeah, very much.
Is that a good job?
Yes, it is a very good job. I really like it. Yeah. It's always a bit, when you say it fills you still with trepidation because it is something that's really important. So it's scary to some degree. But I think it's always good to be like that because it's good to respect what you're doing and not be blasé.
No. It's a key moment in their lives, isn't it?
It is. Never to be taken lightly.
But first, in the lab, Amy must decide which is the best of the 5 embryos.
So that one's looking all right. The cells are differentiating. That's probably what's going to become the inner cell mass, which is what becomes the baby. So this one, you can see the difference between this one and the last one. dark cells there and where it's maybe deteriorating a bit. Okay, cluster of cells in the middle, big undifferentiated one there, couple there, and it's quite dark. So 4 out of her 5 embryos haven't managed to continue through the culture. They've started deteriorating, but that first one is looking good. That would definitely be the one that I'd transfer.
On this occasion, it's a clear-cut decision, but it still carries massive responsibility.
In the patient's eyes, they're all their babies. All the embryos are their babies, and they have to stand to one side and watch while we do all the choosing and while we have them all in the lab away from their bodies. So the responsibility is immense with all of it, not just with the choosing of the embryos. Especially, it is with choosing the embryos. It's a very high responsibility bit of it, but it's all very intense.
Still can't believe we're here. That's scary.
Do you think of it as a little person?
Yeah. If it all works out, do you think we could keep the dish it was made in? As a little souvenir. Imagine that though. There's your dish you were made in.
Be good that.
I know.
Would you like to do that? Keep the Petri dish?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? To wear it around your neck on a chain.
I'd do it. They could put some nuts in it so at home.
For when people come round.
Oh, my sperm was in that dish.
Oh. So, decided that I'm going to transfer that one in well 5. Need to double check everything, so I'm checking that there's definitely one in there for transfer. Then it needs to go back in the incubator until it gets transferred. Hi, I'm Amy. We've met before in the last cycle. Yeah. So out of your 5 embryos, one of them is actually really nice. Looks like it's doing everything spot on.
Oh, God.
Okay, you happy?
Yeah. Weird, isn't it? God.
Sorry. It's alright.
You don't need to get upset, kid. Hey? It's fine. It's a good thing, isn't it?
Are they happy to you?
Good.
Yeah, thank you. Good. You're very welcome.
You've changed your mind? Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to give the nurses a call and I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
But you can look into loads.
It's amazing how you try and put all your emotions away and deal with it and think you're really strong and...
You build up a rapport with some patients and you don't with others. So certainly if you've seen them all the way through, so you've seen them at egg collection and then you've seen them at transfer and you've spoken to them on the phone and you've tracked the progress of the embryos, then yeah, I think you do get attached, and especially when it's a good, probably the extremes of the scale, when it's extremely good and when it's extremely bad, you feel those strong emotions for them.
Point your knees, I know it goes against the grain, but you need to put your knees out. Okay, so now I need to get you into position, please. So I'm not just, staring underneath.
It's alright. Oh, thanks for that.
Go back a little bit, please. About an inch there, Lisa. That's grand, I think. A little bit more. Okay, I'm now coming to the middle a little bit. A bit like the Golden Shot. Did you ever watch the Golden Shot years ago? I think you're probably too young.
The Golden what?
The Golden Shot, and it'll be up a bit, down a bit. Burnie the bolt.
I remember that. What did
Do
you
you
get?
remember that?
Yeah, you would.
I don't
The Golden Shot. Remember? Oh.
What did you get if you hit it?
You'd get a prize, or you'd go on to the next round.
But a lot of cash came out, didn't it?
Oh yes, I remember now. Yeah, I remember that. That's right. Gosh. I just remember the Burnie the bolt. Come on.
Would you like to see your embryo?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you just want to look up at the screen for me. I'll show you both the embryos. Okay, so there's your embryos there, doing everything they should for today. Well done.
Where's it going?
Camera shy.
Get here.
So that mass of cells at the top,
Yeah.
that's the inner cell mass.
Ah.
Gosh.
You'll feel a little bit of pressure as I open up and look for the neck of the womb, okay? You right now?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Is it hurting you?
I'm okay.
Put your embryo back now. Good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to check now and make sure the embryo's left the catheter okay.
Yeah, that's lovely and clear. The embryo's in.
Fantastic.
Okay, all the best, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy.
See you later. Thank you.
Have you performed lots of those, Hilary?
Yes, yes.
First one today.
It's a funny one though, because sometimes when I'm doing embryo transfers, I think I'd just love to sing at this present time. Because, you know, I don't know. I usually, it just comes in a feeling, and I think, oh, I'd love to sing. But I really think that most people would find that very inappropriate if you just burst out singing and go, what on earth?
Well, you're down there between the woman's legs.
Yes. Yeah, I just because it's a lovely thing, isn't it? And you putting somebody's embryos in, it's a lovely thing.
Okay, if you'd like to look at the monitor, I'll just show you your embryo now. It's starting to get to me. There you go.
Now it's the turn of Deborah Dickin, whose husband Matt had a low sperm count.
Brilliant.
Who are you?
Deborah Dickin.
Very good. You haven't moved places since I... Becky's just going to check that the embryos have gone.
That's fine, it's in.
That's it. It's all over.
Good luck, guys. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you.
Okay then, all the very best.
Thank
We'll look it out for you.
you.
Cheers.
I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you very much, Richard. That's great. Time will tell now.
Yes, time will tell.
On average, couples who go through fertility treatment have a 30 to 40% chance of success.
I've seen it in patients' eyes when they come and see you. It's probably not overstating it to think that they see you as somebody who performs miracles.
Now, well, technically, you know, in vitro fertilisation is a routine procedure. It's how we manage the patients, which is the difficult thing. The laboratory bit, you know, often is the easy bit. It's how we manage the patient's expectations. Our contract to the patient is to say, well, we can't guarantee you babies, but we'll do our very best, so that we try and avoid the scenario that I think is the one that we should all be striving to avoid, and that is the patient who hasn't got a children, but is left in a situation where she says, or he says, gosh, if only I'd have had the funding to have this treatment, if only we should have done that. And that's what we've got to try and avoid, and that's what we try and do here.
Ten days have passed, and it's time for the Hennies and the Dickins to take their home pregnancy tests. For Gareth and Lisa, it's not good news.
I don't know what to think, what to do next, so I don't think I want to do IVF again.
Well, you said that, didn't you? But it's early, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Just, we're going to relax, aren't we, and just take things...
Yeah. 38 this month.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You know I am. So we'll make other plans now and get over it.
We've got a good life.
Yeah. No, we've got lots of pets, as you can see. But no, we'll be okay. But I think my mum and dad have avoided me this week because I think they're stressing and are upset, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Do you feel disappointed for them?
Yeah, I do. Because all they do is say what great parents were made, don't they? We've got so many lovely kids in the family, haven't we? Our nephews are just, they're all so lovely.
Come on, our time will come. Promise you.
All the kids are great. They all love us to bits, don't they?
Yeah. We've got good people around us. Everywhere we go, it's just full of good people.
Yeah, we're so lucky. We've got lots of lovely people in our lives. We have. So we said we'll get a pram for the cat.
At Deborah and Matt's home, it's also sad news.
It's hard for me because I feel like I might never be a mum. I just want to have our own flesh and blood. Hard to deal with.
It is.
When you had the embryo transfer, you see the egg, the embryo. You know, you fertilise that. It's still me and Matthew, and you know, it's still been fertilised, and you think, well,
you're creating a life here.
Yeah, you're creating a life, and then it feels like it's just been pulled from under you. You know, nature's way, I suppose.
Cruel way.
Yeah.
Very cruel way sometimes.
But I just want to have our own flesh and blood.
Yeah.
Something that we've produced and we can bring up our way, and yeah.
And we will.
We will. We will. We've still got to be positive because we've still got another go. And it's just a waiting game again now.
Yeah.
It's very difficult not to take it personally, but of course sometimes you have to try and distance yourself from those sort of emotions, because it can be quite detrimental to your own health and well-being, isn't it?
I came halfway through that.
The stress.
Oh yes, yes.
Upset, disappointed, probably the same sort of feelings that they were feeling, but not to the same extent because it's their treatment. But we do that with all the patients. You feel elation when someone gets pregnant, and you feel disappointment when they don't, because our job is to get them pregnant, and if we haven't done that for them, then in our eyes we've failed, really.
But also, talking about being happy or being sad, then these have got to be fleeting emotions for us, because we see so many people, if you got too attached and too emotionally involved with all of them, you would be an emotional wreck coming to work. You'd be crying all the time.
Yeah, and that hardness comes with time, because when I started here, I found everything really difficult, and everything was like, oh, why isn't it working? But now it's like Hannah says, you just have to feel the emotions, but you do have to remember what you're doing and why you're here, and the other patients matter just as well.
I'm Marie Brosden.
All the patients I had met at the Hewitt Fertility Centre are desperate to have a baby, but none more so than Anne-Marie Brotherstone, who has a rare heart condition.
All right. Nearly there.
Yeah.
She had just one egg. It fertilised, but the embryo had to be frozen because her womb wasn't ready. Now, 2 months later, she is back to have the embryo transferred. The procedure is going to be performed by Jill.
You've not got children, have you?
Got cat.
You've got a cat?
Yes.
And how do you find working in this environment with people who are all on the search for children?
It's a difficult one to answer, really. I've never wanted children. There was never that deep yearning to have.
But you might have thought, well, I'm different to most women.
No. I'm not.
Well, you're not different in the sense that most...
I might be different and special.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I didn't mean it to sound like that.
I know. And to be fair, I haven't actually faced a lot of the kind of questions you'd expect, like, oh, couldn't you have children? But there's quite a few of us who are not in that situation now, are we?
How many have you got?
3, and I've got a little granddaughter as well. So that's lovely. And hopefully I'll have some more grandchildren. But no, I or you know, always wanted children. And I mean, I've still had my career and I love my job, and I always think I'm very lucky because I've, you know, through the years of my nursing, I've seen some really, you know, sad scenarios.
You're right, Michael, you can sit down if you want.
Hannah is the embryologist who has been at every stage of the Brotherstones' journey.
And here's your embryo. Can you see that on the screen?
Yeah, perfect. And that's magnified a few hundred times.
The Brotherstones don't have any frozen embryos to fall back on. All their hopes are contained in this one catheter that Hannah carries.
Thank you. Thanks.
It's sad. It's sad when they've only got one, and to them, that's their potential child. That's sad.
Okay, Anne-Marie, the catheter's in place. Has that caused you any pains at all? No? Good. Thank you. Okay. Now Hannah's going to take the catheter and flush it just to make sure the embryo has left, okay?
That's fine, love the interior, the embryo's in.
Okay, and put your legs down now.
Well done. All right. Very best of luck.
Thank you. Hello, here we are again. How are you?
My mind's blank at the minute. I'm just in shock, I think.
What about the fact that it survived?
But I mean, I've got this far.
We've got to keep our fingers crossed now. See what happens. Okay. Well, you got my mobile if you need me.
Yeah.
Okay. All the very
Thanks
best.
very much for your help.
See you.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
How much hope do you have for them?
Well, I'm Scorpio. My cup is always half empty, so I'm a natural-born pessimist. Not a great deal. Not a great deal. She's got a lot of problems to face. You know, with her cardiomyopathy as well. So I'd like to think, you know, we've certainly given her a chance, but how things will turn out, well, we'll find out in the fullness of time.
None of us would be here doing this if we didn't think that it was going to work some of the time. And every cycle you start is with hope, isn't it?
At least they can say, well, I've done everything we can. And what we have to say is we've done everything we can. And certainly with the Brothertons, on this particular cycle we have. So it's out of our hands now.
In 10 days' time, the Brotherstones will carry out a home pregnancy test.
Right, we'll say goodbye to you then. We'll be in touch.
Yes.
Yeah,
10 days.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the text number when I'm coming back in. If you do come back in.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Best of luck with
Oh, thanks very much for that. See you soon.
Thanks. Speak to you soon.
Ta-ra.
Take care. Bye-bye.
There is one other couple I had met in my time at the Hewitt Centre who are desperate to have a baby.
Big cough. Lovely. You guys ready?
Yeah.
I'd first met Kerry and Mike Fraser a few weeks ago when they were being quizzed by a nurse over their alcohol consumption. Today, they too are back to have their embryo transferred.
The embryo's here, we're ready to put it in. And here we go. Have you read your white booklet of all your do's and don'ts?
Yes.
Is there anything in that that doesn't make sense?
I really like chorizo sausage. Am I still okay to eat it?
You really like what?
Chorizo sausage. Am I okay to eat it? Because it says about like Parma ham and all that.
You know, I actually have never been asked that before. I don't know. I would imagine it's fine.
Because we have it like, well, I have it twice a week.
That's it.
Okay, Becky.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you very much.
Right. Don't move your legs yet.
I had to ask about the chorizo sausage because it's been playing on my mind.
It's been bugging you, that, hasn't it?
But
Yeah.
he said don't have it. So,
Yeah, but I cook it though, don't I? I cook
I know,
it.
I'm not risking it.
I'll have it then.
My time was coming to an end at the Hewitt Fertility Centre.
But look.
Shortly before I leave, Dr. Lucy Coyne has a buffet before she goes on maternity leave.
I remember I remember the interview, and the first question was, who would you like to dinner? You know, who would you invite to dinner? Anybody you could invite ever, living or dead. And the previous guy said, oh, I think I'd invite Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart because he was genius of the of the 19th century or whatever. So we asked the same to Dr. Coyne here. Said, who would you invite to your dinner party? Anybody you like, living or dead. He said, oh, I'd like Simon Cowell. I said, that's my girl.
A few days later, I join Anne-Marie and Michael Brotherstone at home for their pregnancy test.
Hello.
Tissue all over your face.
You're very good at offering Anne-Marie support, aren't you?
You have to be. There's not much we've been through, really. The waiting, the appointments, we've both been quite upset at times, haven't we? Just hard to take at the minute. But we'll be alright, won't we? Right.
I had spent 3 months looking at the extraordinary work that goes on here, and I'd seen it through the eyes of the staff. I had learned that by intervening, these scientists and doctors can profoundly change the course of people's lives. But at the same time, I had seen that nature ultimately will have its way. While at the Hewitt Centre, I had met couples who did not have positive outcomes. But I think Charles Kingsland and his team did give these unlucky patients something. He gave them hope. And, in the case of Kerry and Mike Fraser, even more.
Yes, yes!